Mhm. Okay. Enough of that. Zero ends. Wait. I gotta do this again with something more deeper.
This is Zero Ends, and I have returned.
And this is another installment here on Zero Ends Show. I go by the name Zero Ends. And it's been almost roughly a year now since the last live stream done here on the Zero Ends channel, podcast, stream, etc. And I have returned for all males and females for this look into history or the introduction of this particular wonderful book that was released now, pushing now almost 6 years by the end of December. So before we go into the intro of this things, the title for this and for this series, I lay out and call it Black Women Sold Out in Slavery? Question mark. And it's a question mark nonetheless because there were so many men for all I would say men, black men, white men, or any other group of men, but they really well, we could say only one group of or gender or racial men particularly, but y'all get the glimpse as I go into the book. Focus on that it was black women in history that took part and was had the capability to sell out. And I mean sell out the black man during the times of the earlier stages of the Atlantic slave trade in all forms reached parts of Africa, the eastern coast or the west coast of Africa. So before I go more into this, I like to present my good friend or my friend, a lady, yes, she is, that's going to narrate this series. So as I open this or spread it out, okay, I present to you the one and only Chanel Shalom.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
Mhm. Yes. If before we go into this short little introduction, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Chanel Shalom. I am an author and also the creator of an organization called Queens of Virtue. And what we do at Queens of Virtue is we prepare single women for marriage, and that is through femininity coaching. And I also have a channel here on YouTube called Queens of Virtue. So if you would like to subscribe, please do so.
Mhm. And trust me, she as well, from what I got from other male channels, Chaos Rain and other content creators, but specifically Chanel or Chanel, or we like to call Queens of Virtue, she has started doing live streaming. So if y'all want to know more about what is to come, check her channel out. It's very simple, short, sweet, right to the point, and the ladies, you'll love it. And one thing is evident, and I hope Chanel that when you work with also Mr. Rain as well, that you and him will do more shows on various other topics or strategies, if possible, in the near future. We're hoping. Um, let me see. Oh, so now let's get into this. As you know, the author herself, which I will show display, we're gonna do a little brief background of the one that wrote this book. And one thing is known as I pull up that this was a Caucasian woman that wrote this book, especially about this history of black people in general during the times of enslavement. Okay, as y'all can see, this is the author of the book readings we're going to look in, read, and examine. And we're going to do some commentary as well. And as y'all know, the focus of the Zero Ends, we deal with politics and also we deal with various books. But the point is to really look into the information at hand and have a very broad perspective of things. As you know, this is not too much of a, you know, well, y'all know this is more of a thing that you have to keep your attention span well intact and really follow. And as the channel slowly grows, which it will grow, that I'm hoping to hear from y'all with the comment sections or even in the live chat rooms. You know, this is not something that is just short read. This is something that we're gonna look into. We're gonna read it personally, as clear and coherent as possible, and we're gonna have this conversation. So let's go into Miss Pernell Epins, as it's pronounced. Biography. Oh, and I think she's a professor at the Department of History. The bibliograph. I'm a historian of genders, woman, feminism, race, and colonialism in Scandinavia and the large Atlantic worlds. I'm particularly interested in thinking about whose stories count and are told in historical narratives. In my two major research streams, I seek to write or decolonize the stories of people who are underrepresented in what they call dominant narratives about colonial encounters and social movements. I think it's dominant narratives. My first book, Daughters of the Trade, Atlantic Slavery and Interracial Marriage on the Gold Coast, the University of Pennsylvania. I think that's Penn State. I don't know if you're familiar with Penn State. Are you, Chanel? Okay. It's a press in 2015. So I would say she was researching this for a few years, and I think she concluded writing this book around that year, 7 years ago, because it was released the next year of the end of 2016. Let's go further. Following 5 generations of marriage between Africans, Ga and Akan, Gia and Akan, women and European Scandinavians, men in the Atlantic slave trade ports on the Gold Coast, what they call Christiansburg and present day Akura, and show how racial differences was produced in initiative encounters in the midst of the slave trade. Now, Akura is, if I can remember closely, that's in Ghana. If you have any comments, Chanel, feel free. And what else? Hmm. This work builds on my long-standing interest in cultural encounters, travel, writing, and interracial marriage in the Atlantic world. In recent years, I have been increasingly interested in Africa and race in Scandinavia. I have written about race and colonialization in H.C. what they call Anderson, the mulatto in 1840. I wonder if that's a book. I'll click that link in a second. But it looks like this woman has been studying race, colonialism, and intermixing for some time now. And you know, this is just only her background. Now we don't know Miss Pence personal or her personality, where if she's married, children and stuff, or if she's in an interracial relationship. We're not sure. The only thing we can go by is, as y'all see, just the background. And not only the background, we also want to know the hopefully going through is the purpose of why she wrote this book. But for so far, look like her interest in why her ancestors dominate the way they do. And did our people just sit there, just sit down and accept it, even to the point where the women partake and help the further of enslavement of Africans in Africa that were migrated or they're forced and taken from one country to the Caribbean to America. But let's keep going. And I'm eager to explore more questions about colonialism and race in Scandinavia, past and present. In a second research stream, I explored the history of the modern Danish women movement. The Danish, what they call Ro Stumpy Galensin. I think that's how it's pronounced, but I'll butcher it for a second. Since 2009, that's roughly 13 years ago, I have been researched and interviewed participating in the Danish woman movement. And in January 2020, that happened 2 years ago, I finished a manuscript for Danish language collecting biographic about the feminist community I lived in a young child in Copenhagen in the 1970s. What they call Et Abend Agika. I think that's their language. Prospect of English title and open movement. My Seventh Mother and the Danish Women Movement will be published by the Danish published house Galadale in August of 2020, which I think was hard release. I am broadly interested in the history of women movement in the 1960s and the 1970s, not only in Denmark and the rest of Scandinavia, but also in the United States. I am developing classes on the topic, and I look forward to working with students interested in the history of feminism, particularly in Scandinavia. I was educated in Copenhagen University, where I received my MA in history, and I think that's minor in history. No, actually, MA is something different. And with a minor in women and gender studies in 2002, and a PhD in history in 2008. I began teaching at University or UW in 2009. So roughly by the numbers, 2002, I would say particularly she is born in 1979, making her now roughly 43. See that? In addition to beginning jointly appointed in the Department of Genders and Women's Studies and History, I am deeply involved in history PhD programs, gender and women history, what they call Copenhagen University, MA and PhD in Copenhagen University. Okay, so she got a PhD maybe like 13 years ago, or maybe a decade ago. But usually, depending when you get your degree back in 2002, it takes like maybe 6 or 7 years to get a PhD, depending on the program. So that's the background of her. Very nice background. Very good. So that is the lady that we are going to look into the Daughters of the Trade book. So Chanel Shalom, your thoughts and opinions?
Well, her background seems to be interesting. Um, I guess we will see if she's actually qualified, I guess, to write a book like this, but her credentials sound pretty interesting.
Well, she is a history major. Last time I checked, let me double check. Make sure I'm right. Yeah, her degree is in.
Cool.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, I forgot the books that I gotta share the screen again. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me share it one more time because there's the book. She has the books that she has published. One more time. Okay, where is it? Okay. All right. These are the books. This is the one that she was talking about that was released 2 years ago, and this was her very first publication book, as you could tell right here. This is Daughter's Trade. If I click on it, I'm not sure if it'll show up. Let me double check. Yeah, it shows up. Okay. Good. Daughters of Trade, Atlantic Slave and Interracial Marriage on the Gold Coast. This is the actual book. And there's a background of it. Going back. So, so that's the book she wrote. And like I said, she is I think she's a historical major. So I'm gonna make sure I get it right. Yep, she is. She is an MI in history. So not saying she had done one, but that's her background and her first degree. So she put a lot of time research into writing that book. So one thing is evident. We shall see if the myths or what has been said by a lot of dudes that the black man play an even greater role in the enslavement of African people. Um, my opinion personally, I find it very odd that all these gender banging stuff is evident because of only one sex, but like I said, I have to really read the information at hand. One thing is evident, Chanel. A lot of men, like I say to myself, have how can I say this? They said that this is the book or the Bible of the so-called manospheres. You heard this?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they some of the elder scholars, or the ones that's in the space, have referenced and pushed this book in a way.
Wow.
So, I as a man, anytime somebody's pushing something that to their liking and saying this is the reason why things are happening and stuff, like any person, I get curious. And I said, let me buy this book and see if I can read it for myself. Now, for all y'all disclaimers, this book, as I was going through it, only gone through one chapter. I have not read the full book, but from what I was reading so far in the first chapter, it's somewhat, be honest with you, not I'm not pleased, but as going through it from the beginning for all y'all to listen and go back to the replays of these series, you'll get my perspective with the help of my assistant Chanel Shalom, and we're gonna break down these things, for actual content, you know. So there you have it. Um, any other? Do you have any questions, Chanel?
What can you give us a little bit of what the men in the manosphere were saying about this particular book?
For what I can recall, they said that they, from I can remember now, mind you, this is what I can remember.
Mhm.
They be saying that it was the African women that flaunted and dealt with foreigners, helped them, nurture and feed them, and even go as far as having babies that gave the foreigners that came to Africa the strength to slowly start initiating and participate in the slave trade to help enslave
Oh, wow.
more people. This is what I can remember, mind you. This was like a year ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, so at times, I had to sit there think about that. I didn't really take things verbatim. I had to sit there read the information. So,
Mhm.
like any person, I went and bought the book and read it and looked for it myself, which I have not completely read. But this
Mhm.
series will bring more clarity for those that, haven't read it. You have a clear perspective from my perspective, my thoughts into it, including Chanel Shalom. Because this is
Cool.
all for, in my opinion, dialogue and educational purpose. So that's the only thing I can give you right now. From what I
Okay.
heard. But you know, I'm not gonna hold y'all long for this one. This is gonna be very short. I'm just giving a background of the author herself. And the next stream that we'll do, we'll start with the chapter one. So, anything else, Chanel?
That'll be it for me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So, tune in, people. Make sure you subscribe to the Zero Ends channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit that top bell, not the middle, not the top bell. It'll be better for y'all. And make sure to leave a comment after every stream. And check out all the other live streams here on Zero Ends channel. There's some good videos on there. And there probably might be some other older videos that'll be probably upload on that channel. But that'll be it. Like always, man. See y'all later.
Bye.